Hello, everybody, and welcome to Meta. This is episode number 12, I do believe. Sorry about last week. I was trying to make an episode, and then I kind of screwed up the time zones, and I messed it all up. But here we are back again with three of my favorite nerds in the whole world. First off, Katz. Minigun is doing pretty good, playing against Alive right this second. It's a long night at WCS, so sorry that we're overlapping everybody, but how's it going there with Root?
I mean, we're happy he beat the Muslim. Minigun's definitely one of the best players in North America. Most certainly one of the best Protoss in North America. So I'm happy that happened, but it's not looking great for him against Alive. He's a little bit behind in supply and down 1-0.
It's kind of rough. Well, I'm rooting for Root as always. Idra, how are you doing? You just got off Assembly. How did you enjoy that?
It was a lot of fun.
Big cast?
Yeah, it was the first live thing I've done in quite some time, and also by far the biggest. Casting with Caldor is an interesting experience. The production team afterwards told us that they loved working with us because we never asked for a break or anything, and that's because Caldor is just so manly, and I couldn't ask for a break when he was being that manly. So we ended up just doing 12 hours in a row.
For future reference, ask for breaks. That's I don't know how many countries in the world actually allow people to work that long without breaks. Please continue.
It's fine. I didn't have to play or anything. I was just talking about Starcraft, so I mean, I can do that for a while. But now there were some pretty good games, some not so good games, which actually turned out to be really fun because then we just got to make fun of it. And yeah, it was just a good experience. The finals were a bit lackluster because we moved up to the main stage of the whole assembly thing, and there was lots of tech problems in getting that done. So that kind of killed some of the buzz, and also the fact that Tage is way too good and just shat on sand made it a little bit anticlimactic. But overall, it's really, really fun.
Cool. And of course, we have Major here. His first time on Meta because he was in Korea and couldn't come on the show before. But being back home, how are you doing, Juan? And of course, he doesn't have a webcam, so you're just going to see this picture of him. But how are you doing, man?
Yes. I'm fine. Not good, not bad. So I guess so. Just so.
Right. Just so. Fair enough.
Just so.
All right. Well, let's get right into some discussion, guys. First off, I know it's not completely strategy related. We knew it was coming for a long time. Stephano lost last night in WCS EU. He's out. And that's the end of his tournament career in StarCraft 2, basically forever. Definitely a player that has really impacted the scene. We don't know if we'll ever have another foreigner that does what he did, basically. So it's kind of a big deal. And just what do you guys think about this? What are some thoughts, memories, whatever you have to say about it? Because it's important.
I honestly never watched too many foreign tournaments, but when I watched him play against Innovation in Codes, I think it was, I was quite surprised because he did better than most Zergs, even Korean Zergs. So, and it's sad that he's going to retire now. But I wish him luck. That's my best memory about him.
He was a little bit better than he expected. That's actually pretty high praise coming from Juan.
That is true. It sounds backhanded or something, but no, that's for Major. That's a big deal.
Yep.
I was actually pretty surprised it actually happened because I mean he said he's going to retire in the past, and then he was always just never mind, I'm going to make more money. And then I actually heard from people behind the scenes that they had convinced him to come back and stick around and whatnot. And then everything went through, and he made that little tweet about how this was the end of the road, and it actually happened. So it's really shocking. And I really don't think we're going to see another foreigner come anywhere as close to the Koreans as he did. He revolutionized the metagame a couple of times, just completely redesigned. People played ZVP and Wings to Liberty, and even in Heart of the Swarm, he was one of the big pioneers of the Swarm host horrendousness.
Don't start. That was me. Thank you.
Oh. No. You were doing 2 base.
I recall before anyone tried it, me calling it in the beta that was going to happen. Exactly what happened. I'm just saying.
This is true. We talked about it in META, actually.
You guys talked about it. And you did 2 base Swarm host Queen all-ins and shit.
No.
Get the version that actually works.
No. We talked about that, and I was like, that's what's going to work. And then Artosis was like, no, I think late game, it's going to be the best. And then the next episode of META, I was like, you know what, Artosis, you were right. Someone could check the VODs. And so Artosis is not wrong about strategy, just predictions. And
it's easy. It's easy to assume that the wrong.
All right, Stephano, kick this guy off the show, man. X him off the call.
But yeah, about Stephano, like he was so freaking talented. He's possibly the most talented person I've ever seen. Like he was just so smart, and he played one of the most reactive brands of Zerg ever. It was really inspiring to see. Like a lot of Zerg players have trouble doing what he does because even if he didn't scout something, if he felt something was off, he wasn't afraid to make 30 corruptors. You know, it's like, there's something's off. That's I'm gonna make 30 corruptors, and then it worked. You know, that's the kind of play that he did that was just really impressive. The first time I ever played him was on Metalopolis, and he took the gold expansion in CVZ. And I was like, hey, I'm the one that's supposed to be doing that. And I was like, I know how to punish it, and I tried my best, and he just wrecked me. And then I watched the replay, and I was like, I don't know what I could have done differently. And I was like so impressed with him. And then from then on, we somewhat became friends. I tried really hard to get him in Complexity when Complexity was looking at Naniwa, which was the best foreigner back then, on paper at least. And I told him, you know what, Stephano is better. And even though he doesn't have any results, we should go and invest all of our budget into him because it's going to be worth it. And we tried, but then he, decided to stick with Millennium. And that was unfortunate. And then I predicted he would win IPL 3, which was a pretty weird prediction to make, and he did. And at the end of IPL 3, I was like, I congratulated him and gave him a hug, and he was like, thank you for believing in me. But it was really not hard to do. He was just so fucking smart.
You know, I feel like he was a player with ridiculous star sense, like you were saying, Katz. Like he would feel something's off and react to it, in like really good mechanics, really good decision making. Just one of these full package players that it is so rare to find, and it's a sad thing. What a personality too. You know, he's probably the biggest personality-wise type guy, right? I mean,
probably the most. He's not even polarizing. I wanted to say polarizing, but that's not the right word because
no, that's Idra.
Everyone loves Stephano, even if he does like the most unacceptable shit sometimes.
It's because he's so shameless about everything. Like he is.
Yeah,
He's just very honestly who he is. People appreciate that.
That's true. Yeah. He's not playing any games like that. He's very straightforward in that regard, and it's so hard to find someone like that. He's like so comfortable with himself and so happy. And I think that that's actually, it's kind of bad for Starcraft that he's retiring, but it kind of reminds me like of The Simpsons. People look at The Simpsons nowadays and they're like, well, I don't know if it's been canceled yet because I don't even keep track, but it really went to the shitter, right? And it was like it hit a peak that was so high. It's like, now everyone's going to kind of remember it differently. But with Stephano, it's like, he's not really off that peak. He still is having really good results, and he's retiring out of that. And it's kind of like, well, I mean, this is like something that will always be remembered, like what he did, because he didn't like fall off and become someone you don't even think of anymore, like a lot of pros do before they quit, which is kind of neat. And also the fact that he's in touch with himself enough to realize that money and fame isn't everything, and he's done with it, and he wants to go do something else with his life. I think it's like a big lesson for. Yeah,
I think he changed it. I thought he was going to do engineering now.
Oh yeah, I think he changed.
If he's going to be a doctor, I thought about this. I gave it a lot of thought, and he would be the kind of doctor that I would go to if everyone else told me I'm going to die. But I wouldn't ever go to him first. Yeah.
He'd be one of those doctors that like sticks his hands in your stomach, like the sleight of hand thing with all the fake blood. And whereas Greg would be Dr. House. He's who I would go to if someone told me I was going to die, actually.
That's kind of flattering. I appreciate that.
I know you're a House fan, so I figure I'd throw you a bone there. But we all know you're never going to be a doctor. You're going to be a commentator now. So, but I mean, it's a sad thing, man. I'm going to be sad that I don't get to hang out with Stephano anymore at these events or watch his games, and I guess it's kind of selfish, but he's going on to something that makes him happier. So he needs a change, and he's getting it.
Can't blame him.
Any final words on Stephano, you guys, before we move on?
Well, people shouldn't be sad because at the end of the day, it's his life, so it's his choice.
Oh.
Just accept it.
Oh, the words of wisdom from Juan.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's like
So
a
good
Bon
luck.
Jovi song or something.
Simpatico is just too good.
I know, he's so funny, man. He's like the whole show.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, enough reminiscing. We all love Stephano. We'll all miss him dearly, and who knows? Maybe one day he'll decide that he misses Starcraft or something like that.
Happens to everyone.
It does happen to everyone.
It,
I don't.
yeah.
No one quits ever, except Testy.
No, Testy, last I checked, was still playing.
Oh
My
yeah,
own-
he's,
who
yeah,
plays?
he's high masters, isn't he? Yeah, no one ever
Really?
quits.
No one
Yeah,
ever quits.
that's what I heard.
I didn't know that. I thought he went
I
off to MOBAs.
He did.
Yeah, he's
Naoki
like-
still plays. Naoki
He
still
can't. I
plays.
mean, think of how much time he spent on the internet before Greg. He still spends that much time, which means that he has to do more than play a MOBA. Like, there's other. I'm sure he's still going right through Team Liquid, waiting for his name every day.
He has searches for it every morning.
I want to throw this out here. Do you remember in StarCraft 1, like, it was like saying Beetlejuice 3 times or something. Like, if you typed the word Testy into Team Liquid, within 5 minutes he appeared, no matter what time of the day. It's like,
That's why his APM was so low in StarCraft. He spent half of it all tabbed,
mm,
reading through Team Liquid.
oh my, good old
Oh my.
Testy. Now that was a polarizing figure. Okay, on to actual game discussion.
Products.
Kind of excited to do this. Yes, Juan. I know.
Christ.
All right, so Juan has been asking guys to come on Major since he got back, which was, I guess,
Meta.
a couple weeks ago.
Let's not rename the
Meta.
show.
Yeah.
Meta, sorry.
I think we should. I'm okay with naming it after Juan. I'm very excited for what's about to happen.
Yeah, no, this is it's fun.
It is fun.
Juan is convinced that the Mothership Core, specifically, right, Juan, is imbalanced.
Yeah, that's the main point.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay, well, why don't you just start talking, and we'll see where it goes from here.
Okay.
We'll just listen.
So, the fact is that every product nowadays, they agree that the best build they have is Mothership Core Expand, either with one gas or two gas, right?
Yeah.
Like, you start a sellout, and if you don't see an eBay block, you cancel and you make that Nexus.
Yeah.
So, even then, there's products that don't make that sellout, and they still just make the Nexus. And I seen it with my eyes. They're an 11-11, trying to kill a product that doesn't build the sellout, and they actually make the Nexus anyways, and they still hold 11-11 because they have a Mothership Core, and they can get a Stalker at the same time out. So I don't know how that even works, but I don't think that's fair at all. Or I think.
Wait. Can I stop you for 1 second?
Okay, but I'm
Have you
a
ever
ramble.
seen a Protoss try to proxy 2-gate a Terran? Oh, you
Yes.
haven't? That's
Yes,
because
I
that
see-
doesn't
no,
work
I
against
seen it.
Terran, so
It works.
it works
It
now.
works.
Well,
You didn't see
shit, I
Young
guess I'm wrong.
Seabear's innovation? It works. It actually works.
Right. Keep going, Juan. Keep going.
Okay, so after then the other problem with the Mothership Core is that photon overcharge, right? It's 100 mana, and when the Mothership Core comes out, it comes with 50, I believe. I think it shouldn't come out with energy. It makes 10-10-10 very, very strong. 10-10-10, it's almost unstoppable. It's too strong. So you have Mothership Core with a Sellout and Stalker, and if Terran doesn't scout it perfectly, it's gonna die. It's just gonna die. Then we move on to another problem with the Mothership Core. There's this new build. Well, no, it's not new build, but most products do in Korea. They do. It happened yesterday actually with First Beer's Supernova. You were casting that. He went like for a proxy robo, right? You see?
Yeah.
You remember? You don't have
Yes,
to
I
proxy it,
remember.
but so he goes and kills the 4 bunkers and just kind of kills him. But Supernova survived, right? He didn't die, but he was kind of dead anyway.
Yeah.
The problem is, even if you survive somehow, you can't do anything to counter pushing because they have Mothership with 200 mana. So if you drop the mate, they use a photon overcharge, and you can't kill anything as long as their SimCity is good. And you try to go in the front, they have another 100 mana, so they use another photon overcharge on that Nexus. So it's like that doesn't make any sense. How can you go and do an all-in that's almost unstoppable if it's not perfectly scouted? and go back and defend perfectly fine if just with one unit that can make two Nexus shoot. It just doesn't sound right. And it makes another problem. That's not the only problem. There's more problems with MothershipCore.
There's
It
more.
makes, yeah, of course. It makes Protoss be able to play way too greedy without real punishment, unless you do like a gas first build, which even then it's stoppable by the same build without scouting. Like you can play completely blind as Protoss and be fine against everything. And as Terran, you have to, if you don't open Reaper or CC first and scout like around all the map, you're in trouble. But Protoss, they don't care. They have three ways of scouting: Overseer, MothershipCore, and hallucination. No. I'm sorry. Observer, MothershipCore, and hallucination Phoenix. It's like they can just sit on their ass and just do whatever they want.
Hey,
I'm sorry about the language.
what if they hallucinate a MothershipCore and then send it?
You can't hallucinate Mothership.
Don't care about it.
Don't
Hallucinate the slowest moving unit in the game.
It's like it's just MothershipCore. It's way too strong, and even Protoss players agree about it. When I was in Korea, we were watching. I don't remember what's like a Pro League game, I think, and Terminator said, "Yeah, Protoss is very broken. You can play whatever you can do whatever you want, open whatever you want, and be safe against everything." So that's my thoughts so far about Protoss, and even PVC. I'm gonna give you an example. Yesterday, Savage versus Super. Super went. I'm gonna tell you. He went Nexus expand. Force expand, and he took a third base without scouting anything. His map was black, all black. He almost with a 3 Nexus.
He never sent out a scout. You made a what map is this? What map? I haven't seen that match yet.
Yeah, that happens.
Okay, well, Aklon is actually a problem.
He took the other third. He took the one down, not the one
behind the rocks. Yeah.
That one's still so easy to defend. That is a problem map.
Honestly, any third base is easy to defend if they don't have speedling and you get cannon up with SimCity.
Yeah, but let me finish, please.
Go ahead, Juan. Go ahead, Juan.
Savage went Roach Bane all in. Roach all in. Roach Ling all in, like 35 drones. And Super was nothing, almost hold it. With a 3 Nexus, no gateways, nothing, just with a MothershipCore and some sentries. It's like, how is that even fair? All his map was black, and he almost hold all in.
I don't think that was the MothershipCore so much.
It
clearly was. He won, right?
He won, but he barely won. That's what baffles me.
Yeah, well, it sounds like he managed to punish it. To be honest, I don't think there's anything wrong with the MothershipCore in ZVP. But I think Greg disagrees with that.
That's not what Scarlett says every day on this chat.
Greg, what do you think about the MothershipCore? Because you were saying it was imbalanced.
I don't know if that particularly is imbalanced, but in combination with everything, it just feels incredibly strong. I think the biggest thing that a lot of Protosses don't take advantage of, really, is the fact that it gives you a free attack every X seconds. Because, if they have enough units, you can just recall. And it gets to a point where if the Protoss does it really well and is always careful about making that judgment, either you do an attack, you see that they don't have enough units, you use your time stops, and you kill them. Or you do the attack and you see that they actually have enough units, and then you recall. And the fact that they invested that much love and resources in those units means they're behind anyway. It feels like it's almost impossible for Zerg to actually hit that sweet spot where they have enough to scare them off, but they still have more economy than the Protoss invested in the attack. And it's just so easy for Protoss to do that. It's a very, very, very high reward or high potential reward with very low risk. And it just feels like an imbalance of difficulty there. And then beyond that, time stop is ridiculously powerful. Photon overcharge is ridiculously powerful. It's such a diverse unit. It's good defensively. It's good offensively. It's a get out jail free card. It's just so good.
I disagree. I disagree with it. The photon overcharge. I don't think it's that powerful against Zerg. Maybe against Terran because of the drops. But I do agree that the recall is actually extremely good and still underused. And I've been playing Korea ladder only since I got to the house. I actually got first of all Masters in Korea before I started losing like crazy yesterday. And I see a lot of Protoss are starting to go for like the super gateway heavy units, just mass gateway units with decent upgrades. And just like what we talked about, Greg, like maybe like 3 weeks ago or a month ago, where Protoss don't do that enough, where they're like just warping in, and then they keep the mothership core with their army, and then just keep warping in, and then the Zerg has to continue to make units or die, or it's a very delicate balance. Yeah, it's extremely common now, and I'm not sure. Like it's extremely hard to transition because you can't just beat it with Roach Hydra even, because force fields are so powerful. So I agree. Like recall is a really underused dynamic of the mothership core still, and I think that could be maybe overpowered if Protoss get a better sense of just keeping their army out on the map. But at the same time, that cuts their options to tech up.
Kind of, but the biggest thing is that you can do that with any amount of units. Like, it has to be enough to scare them, otherwise it's purposeless. But you can always just recall home. Like, the only thing you have to be careful about is making sure that you're tricking the Zerg into making a lot of units, so you have to be able to hold the follow-up ball in even after you recall. But that's usually not too hard to do with force fields, cannons, planetary nexus.
Yeah. So, actually, you know what's really cool? I was talking to State. I don't know if you watched the Red Bull Battlegrounds of him against Snoot at all.
No,
I didn't get to see it.
But what he does is he like takes the warp prism with 4 zealots in it, then does an extra huge warp in, tries to snipe a hatch or do as much damage as he can, but he keeps the mothership core with that warp prism, and then just loses nothing. So, yeah, play like that is where I think Protoss players are lacking in using the mothership core.
I have to agree with you against Zerg specifically, and we can get into Terran in a minute here. But against Zerg specifically, I don't think Photon Overcharge is overpowered at all. I think it's fine against Zerg.
Well, the only thing that does that is
the Time Warp is like really good against Zerg. Like, there are times where, like, if you actually throw down Time Warps in front of your army, it's almost the same as a recall because the Zerg can't walk through it towards you. They can't do it, or you'll just kill their army a lot of the time. So it's like really good. But the recall thing, actually, when Heart of the Swarm was like really shaping up and going to launch soon and stuff like that, all I could think of was MC winning 4 more GSLs because he just walks across the map with one of his MC, ground busting armies. He right-clicks on your hatchery, throws up a couple force fields so you can't engage his army, and then he warps out and laughs and just... that's what I thought that Protoss was going to be. And it hasn't turned out like that. Like, I feel like recall is completely underutilized against Zerg. I think it's like the most important and powerful thing, especially on any map that's spread out a little bit, because those side expands, if you have a warp prism on one side and your army with a mothership core on the other, how are you going to hold your base? But the thing is, it's not a problem yet. We don't actually see Protoss doing this, but I feel like it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, every once in a while they do. It's just it's not enough that it's recognized as an overall thing yet.
Yeah, I know. I know saying that. Like, I do play a few of those Solins where they like do like the 3 or 4 or 5 gateway pressure, and then that they're not trying to kill you, but you're producing units way too early. Where you want to be making drones instead, and then they follow up with an immortal, and like they just recall and then move out with like 3 immortals, and that's really hard to deal with.
One thing though is, you both said that Photon Overcharge wasn't a problem, and throughout most of the game, it's not. But the thing is, what it lets Protoss get away with early, more so PvT than PvC. But like Juan was saying in the initial portion of his rant, is just Protoss can pretty much do anything at all early on, and Bio's not going to break that Nexus with a cannon on it. Plus, then it helps against the drops and stuff. And to a lesser extent, that's true as EVP. Like, if that 3rd Nexus gets up, it's probably going to stay up, even if you take it really early and really greedy. So like early game, I think the balance of it's debatable. Mid game and on it's not a factor really.
Yeah, I guess the main difference with Zerg is against Zerg, the Protoss has to wall in, and then you can always pick off those buildings, even despite of the Photon Overcharge with like Hydras every time and with Roaches most of the time. Well, so you can just like wait while killing shit.
You guys remember in Wings of Liberty PvC was like, you either do a 2-base timing or a 3-base timing, and they were really sharp, right? Like really sharp.
Yeah.
That's not the case in Heart of the Swarm, and it blows my mind why they don't do the same thing, and they have a free unit that makes
with the time.
See, that's actually what I thought PvZ would be.
Scared of. Yeah.
That's like well, that's why MC is going to still win every tournament in the world. Is he's going to play exactly like Wings of Liberty with recall. That's what I thought, but
the timings are really more slow. I've seen it. don't
Even
know why.
time stop, like just the Immortal All In, the fucking Soul Train Immortal All In or whatever, except with time stops with it. I don't know how Zerg actually beats that. I'm not sure what's changed because speed hydras
They do
Well,
end up holding it though, actually.
if you can scout the robo fast enough and you go for Muta, you can like just sack your third, defend your natural, and like if you get the Mutas out, you win. But that's
Even if
if you
they
can
kill the
scout.
third hatchery and just recall home and turtle up.
I think so because
That
like
seems pretty
Immortal
flash.
Lin, they'll have just like sentries and Immortals, and
Yeah, but
So
that
you're
plus
like Mutas are much better than they were in Wings. So like I was just trying to make an argument for the units that have changed since Wings, and then there's Swarm Hosts, but they're really hard to get out in time to stop all ins.
Yeah. Well, the Immortal All-In, I think most Korean pros that I've seen deal with that actually tend to utilize Hydras more often nowadays. You still see them get broken every now and then, but Protosses can't rely on it like they used to. About the recall thing, though, against Zerg, before we really jump in a little bit more about the Terran matchup, the one thing, even though I feel like this is something that should be seen a lot more, what we've been talking about, I'm afraid, like, I feel like you need recall to be that powerful against people that go, like, Mutiling. Because the mobility of Zerg compared to Protoss when they're going for that composition is so ridiculous. Like, no matter what Protoss goes for, Zerg is going to way outmaneuver you and kill your bases whenever you move out. Which makes it like, well, do you just make your army, and then you're like, all right, base trade, let's do it. And you just go and you bring your probes and shit and build over in their side, and they bring some drones and build over on your side, and then it's like, what type of game have we played here? Whereas if you have recall, I think it actually becomes, like, I've had a lot of very interesting games where they do end up going Mutiling, and I do end up having to recall a bunch, and like I'll sack a base, but I'll get back to defend a little bit, and they're running all over.
Okay,
creep. I don't know.
but here's my question for you. In those games, do you get surprised by the Mutas? Like, are you out in the map and you're like, ah, shit, Mutas in my base, I better recall? Because
Well, I've had both types. The thing is, I guess if you go Phoenixes,
Yes.
it's a little bit different. But
like you have to go Phoenix.
You have to go
against-
Phoenix
Yeah.
against
Yeah.
Muta.
well,
Yeah.
the longer mutas are out. But the thing is, if you decided to not open Stargate, and that's why I guess I hit this a reasonable amount, because I don't open Stargate that much because I'm kind of bored of it. But if you don't open Stargate, it actually happens. Even if you see it coming, switching in to Phoenixes is really, really difficult when you're already trying to put so much money into your ground army. So.
But Dan, what kind of answer is that? I'm bored of it. It's like I'm saying I'm bored. I'm bored of reactor hellions. Yeah, I'm bored of reactor hellions, but I have to do it because there's nothing else. So you just go our Stargate, and that doesn't happen.
It's fair enough. It's fair enough. But the thing is, is that what we want out of the game? That you can only open Stargate against Zerg? I don't think so.
To some extent, openings are going to be set. Like we talked about that in the ZVZ, how it might end up being just 15 hatch versus 15 hatch if it's good enough to defend 10 pull every time. That's not really a bad thing. I mean, how much variation do you actually want before that in the period where no one can really scout and no one's actually making intelligent decisions? Like,
Yeah,
I think it's pretty okay to have a set build up to that point.
That's
I
what I
don't
was
like
getting.
sets.
Like I don't think Protoss plays reactively enough, and I think the hallucinated Phoenix are still underused. Like Succeed that like sits next to me right now. He like scouts with hallucinated Phoenix all the time, and then he'll like if he sees like a Spire, and then he confirms Muta with another hallucinated Phoenix, and he'll produce like double Stargate Phoenix. Or if he sees an Ultra then going up, he'll drop 3 Robos and start producing Immortals. Like I think that kind of play is really underused. Protoss seem to rely a lot on what structures they already have, which is what it feels like Protoss should be like. Because you're investing so much into those structures.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when the Zerg is like it's like opposite dynamics, because when the Zerg makes a building, sure you can make endless units, but the Zerg does not want to make a building, and they make 3 of those units. So usually, if they're making a building, you can safely assume that they're making those units, and then you can confirm it too with hallucinations.
Very good skill.
Yeah.
Very good skill. Well, jumping away from Zerg for a minute, I do want to talk about the PVT, because that's where I think Juan has most of his problems with the Mothership Core. So let's just jump back into some of those problems. Like,
Okay.
name one of your problems again, Juan, so we can actually go over it.
The most obnoxious one is they can play whatever unbelievably greedy behind the Mothership expand. Like if they can go 2 Forge, they can do 2 Forge, Robo, Colossus, right? They can do Robo, 2 Forge, Colossus. They can do Dark Temper drop. They can do 2 Archon, like unbelievably fast 2 Archon all ins. They can just take a turn, extremely fast turn. It's just there's so many problems. That's the main problem I have though. It's so hard to scout what they're doing, and they can play unbelievably greedy behind it. And
I know.
Go ahead.
There were a few Terran builds I was actually seeing at Aces, especially Tasia, because he would catch, like Alicia would go quick Forge and a Robo after the Nexus, just, the normal kind of greedy stuff. And he would like rush out 2 mines and medevac and like 10 Marines and use the mines to control the ramp area, and then just elevators 10 Marines into wherever there wasn't a planetary Nexus, and just like pick away. Because, I mean, Protoss has literally 2 or 3 units at that point, and that's pretty late into the game.
But it's map dependent though. Very map dependent.
Yeah, you have to have a big enough main that you can actually dance outside the Nexus. But I mean, there are some ways to punish it, but the problem is you have to commit to it before you really know if they're going greedy. Unless you happen to get a Reaper in, or if you burn a scan way before you actually can.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to kind of guess.
And as you see, Teja never went Reaper. He played the most unbelievable save possible, 15 gas, which is a bad build, but he still won.
Well, I've seen a lot more Terrans opening up double Reaper, and I think this might have something to do with it, because then you can actually always get that second important scout off to try to figure out what's going on. And Major, have you seen any of these other builds? They kind of rotated in a few months ago for a little bit, where Terran was doing things like overmaking their Marines a little bit, and sometimes getting quick stim, and then just walking to the natural. You know how you always poke to get photon overcharge off, but then they just like kill all the probes that are left there. Things like that.
Yeah.
What do you think about moves like that to help offset the super greedy builds? Because something like that against someone that goes double Forge Robo off of like a Stalker, a Sentry, and a Mothership Core is going to be very powerful. At minimum, you're going to deny them a lot of mining time.
I mean, it's good, but then again, you're still doing the kind of blind because you don't know. This play is normally after a CC first, and you don't get a Reaper with CC first. So it's kind of risky, because if they happen to go something else, all those Marines are dead. And if those old Marines are dead, you won't stop any all-in, and you'll have presence on the map for like for a long amount of time.
Have you seen Supernova's opener that's CC first into double racks and a Reaper?
That's Innovation's build. He did it in Terminator.
Oh, that's Innovations. Okay.
Yeah. It's okay. I mean, it's not bad. Then you add the T-Rex. I know this build, but the thing about this build is then your full timing push, it's a little bit weaker, and you kind of need to go into 5 racks before the third base, because if you don't, you don't have like any presence on the map over. You don't have any presence on the map all time, and your third base you actually can't defend it all against an all-in. That's the only problem with that build. But overall, it's a good build. Yes.
Okay. So what do you, like, Greg? You've been playing some Terran as well, right? So, do you feel the same way that like Protoss can basically do anything behind the Mothership Core in the early game, like open up any way, and it's hard to scout?
I mean, it's pretty much just what we've said. Like, Terran can take advantage of it if Protoss is playing super, super greedy, like 1 to 2 Forges and a Robo all off 1 gateway. But the problem is you have to commit to that before you really know what's going to happen, unless they let the Reaper in. And on some maps, that's not a problem. Some maps you're almost guaranteed to get the Reaper in. But if it's on like Belshir or Derelict or something, there's only that one spot. They leave 2 Stalkers there. The Reaper's not getting in at the important timing. And even then, it's already late enough that you kind of already have to have started down that path. You already have to have the factory up and running and be headed towards Starport. Because you can't just run in. Like, even those 10 Marine pokes and stuff, it feels like if Protoss has good reaction time, they just run their probes. And it's not worth sacrificing those Marines just to delay the mining for that long. So there's things, it's not totally invulnerable, but you have to take a pretty big risk in order to actually be able to punish it. And I don't know.
Yo, I got a question for you. Question for you. What if the Protoss is not a dipshit and puts the Forge behind the Nexus? Then you can kill them. Because I seen Protoss that put the Forge next to in the ramp, so they obviously gonna die. But if they put it behind the Nexus, how am I supposed to eat that?
Like the quick drop where you take control of the ramp and then you just you attack. He means if you put it next to the Nexus, so the Nexus cannon actually protects the Forge or the buildings. And that's actually a pretty fair point.
It
Because
is
like
fair.
if they just build a bit more or like
Yeah, no, that's like Squirtle does that, where every building is within Nexus cannon range.
that should be the way it should be, except maybe a pylon or two for scouting, and even then.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when I see someone just do that drop in between the Nexuses and kill a Robo, I just have to shake my head. I'm like,
That
why
happens
is
so
your Robo right there? I don't understand this. It just doesn't make sense. Well, hold on. So we've talked about a couple ways to try to figure out what's going on against Protoss, and or scout and or slightly damage, like that little bit heavier Marine poke, the double Reaper, and then there's also, of course, if you go for quick like tech harassment, like a couple Widowmine drop with a few Marines. A lot of Pro Terrans in Korea are still doing that as well, and that's going to give you, you know, the harassment option, and you're going to see what the Protoss is doing. So what do you think about that one, Juan?
Well, that's the the standard two plays that Terran have. It's either like Reaper expand to 1/1/1, like with the mine drop. And nowadays all Terrans, instead of how they used to go after that, they used to add 2 more racks and add 2 tech labs.
Yeah.
So they would do like a steam timing afterwards. They get a third command center because they realize the timing push, it doesn't do anything anymore. Like it never does anything.
It doesn't
So
anymore, really.
most of Terrans get a third command center after the mine drop thing. Or the CC first with the marine poke, which is good. But then again, you have to rely on Protoss playing greedy, as I said before. So yeah, those are like the 2 main builds Terran has. But Protoss has like 10 of them. So that's like where my mind blows. Protoss knows.
I guess. I see where you're going, Juan. It's kind of like a thing of just like variety, and like TVP. It always seems like the Terran's always doing the same thing, but I don't think that translates into imbalance. That's it.
No, it doesn't. But it makes Protoss know what you're doing without scouting. That's why all her map is black, and mine it's not black. And I will
not. To be fair, when I do all my imbalance builds, I do scout as Protoss. Now, here's another thing actually, because there's some metagamey stuff that I've seen a little bit more recently. That's actually, I think, pointed towards some of this. Like for instance, Bomber against Rain. I think it was on Anaconda. He went command center first, then 3 racks, and hit with more Marines than what was expected. I think that was the map and matchup.
It was like
wasn't Anaconda the mech map?
No, he was like yeah, watch it. But Dan, I was watching your cast and you missed the point.
Great.
That's the standard play. That's the completely standard play.
Wait. Supposed to go command center, racks, gases is standard.
Yes. That's
okay.
Actually,
well,
I saw that. I saw that a
lot, and I don't. That's the first time I've seen it. So
you need to stop watching Torsen. That's what you need to do.
It's completely standard instead of 3.
No, you die to all.
Actually, no. I saw.
It was the first time it happened in OSL, but it is completely standard, I guess. So hold on though. That's it. He definitely had more units than Rain was ready for when he came out. Like these little types of shifts against the greediness, where like, because when you hit a certain amount of units, the Nexus cannon becomes less and less good. You know, it's just something that you start to ignore a little bit.
Yes.
So what do you think about just kind of rotating through builds like that?
That's what you're supposed to. I'm gonna tell you why he had more units. He had more units because at the same time he put the starport, he had 2 extra racks, which is the deviation. That's the deviation. The normal play will be a 3rd command center, but he went 4 and 5 racks, so he had way more units than you normally did. And he actually caught the observer, Rain observer, so he never saw there were 2 extra racks. That's why he had more units.
When you should be a caster.
I should be a caster.
That would be very entertaining.
Yeah, I just like it when casters disagree, as opposed to like agree with everything. I think you'd be perfect with just
Juan
about
wouldn't
anything.
take shit.
Yeah.
So that's why he had more units.
Well, okay, but I'm not talking about the actual. Like,
no, I know. You rotate.
He had more units. What I'm trying to say is, by rotating things like this this is a way to punish Protosses that are going for these more greedy.
Yes, it is.
Oh, Skype is
down. What happened?
Hello?
I can't hear Dan. Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
I think it's
I'm
settled
still here.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Okay, so anyways, I'm talking about ways to actually combat this problem. Like, and you know, I've seen these different builds: the heavier Marine poke, double Reaper scouts, the earlier tech drops. and sometimes rotating in some other builds, like the heavier unit amounts for the first or second push with the 2 or 4 medevacs. What do you prefer? Like, which?
Stop.
Are any of these completely crap?
Stop. You're being a robot right now.
You
Oh,
It's
are
not
fine.
that bad.
It was okay.
pretty.
It's not as bad as it was before.
Yeah, before it was horrible. I couldn't understand
sorry.
everything you said.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Oh, damn.
No, I
Can
understood.
do you hear me now?
Yes,
little robotic.
you sound kind of far away.
I sound far away. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
guys. I don't know why.
Get closer, please.
Is this better?
You actually got. No, it's your internet, I think.
Yeah,
That's
it's your
weird.
internet.
Yeah.
No, but it's fine. I heard it fine.
Okay. So you guys hear me fine now?
I do.
It's
I don't know
okay.
about that.
We can understand you.
Okay.
The quality's still not perfect, but whatever.
So these different builds, because you're saying that Protoss can do anything, right, behind the mothership core. But it
Pretty
seems
much.
like there's, maybe there's at least 3 very common builds that Terran has, and maybe a couple other variations that they
Yes.
can use to try to start countering this. So is the part that you don't like the fact that Terran, the onus is on Terran trying to figure out what's going on? Or do you
Exactly.
feel like this is like a true imbalance because Protoss doesn't have to scout, like you keep bringing that up? I'm wondering exactly what it is.
It's
Well, I
pretty much the. Oh, go ahead.
I think the bigger problem is that if Protoss just plays safe, it all becomes obsolete. Like if they put down 2 more gateways after the Nexus, or they put up a cannon in each mineral line, it's just really, really easy to nullify any Terran aggression. It's not like you have to figure out what Terran aggression it is and then decide. Like as long as you have a good amount of units, or really just as long as you have a good amount of units, unless Terran is like committing to an absurd all-in, which isn't likely to work in any case, it's really easy to hold it off. Although then you're not playing greedy. So like basic Protoss has 2 options to consider and much higher odds on both of them.
Okay.
And the other problem is that when Terran does a build, he has to fully commit to it without knowing what Protoss is doing. And that's not the case for Protoss at all. So
Sounds like StarCraft 1 PvP.
It doesn't sound like imbalance so much as just PvT becoming a little bit boring on the Terran side. Like you
No,
usually
it's
always. You think so?
yes, I talked to every Korean Terran and Protoss, and they all say it's a balance.
Okay.
No
If
fun.
you've done that, then
No, you never was in the 8th house. You should see Baby. He would rip his hair off. He was so mad about Protoss.
Oh, that's funny.
And let me tell you something. Baby is insane in TVP, and TVC, and TVT. He's
Yeah,
very,
he's
very
good.
good player.
That is true. So, all right. Well, we're gonna go on for like another 8-ish minutes or so. I wanted to make this like a 1-hour episode today for multiple reasons, including I have to go pick up my dog from the vet. But any more thoughts, guys, on Mothership Core? What?
Well, we can say how.
Huh? Go
Sorry.
ahead.
We can try to come up with conclusions how to fix it.
Okay.
No?
How do you fix it, Major?
Maybe. I think it shouldn't come with that much mana when it spawns. It comes with 50, and I think photon recharge should be maybe more mana, like 125. So you can throw
Okay.
2 at the same time.
Okay. But you could do 1 in a time warp.
Yes,
Seems-
exactly.
Seems like a reasonable fix. Do you think?
but you
doing
can't
that is
recall
enough?
on photon overcharge, could you?
No, I guess
Well,
you could
the
not.
Mothership Core shouldn't be at the same. Like how it's gonna be on your Nexus and it's gonna be attacking at the same time. So it's not a problem there, I think. I think that should be like probably the main fix. It spawns with less mana and photon overcharge 125. I think.
Well,
Then again, no one cares.
this is definitely something we're going to have to talk about on another episode as well, because the question does come up about the speed of medevacs and how railroaded Protoss may be if they don't have enough photon overcharge or too slow photon overcharge, and the problems that can make when Terran actually gets a big army out at that moment where Terran always has a little bit more supply in medevacs and you're just getting your slash and stuff. That can be a problem. But
both these conversations actually came down to the fact that Protoss has so much problems dealing with mobility, both the mutas and then the speed medevacs. So that's kind of always the underlying issue. They kind of
But if you guys
so strong in some ways and then so weak in others.
if you guys pay complete attention to TVP nowadays, like if you guys pay completely attention to the game, you see that Terran actually don't drop anymore. They used to do one timing with SCV rules, SCV pool every game. They don't drop anymore because it doesn't work. They don't want to waste units because they know it's not going to do anything anymore. So I don't know if that would be such a problem as people think.
That's meta, though.
Yeah, thank you, Katz. Y'all always got to fit that one in. But the reason they don't drop is because you can hit the photon overcharge. So suddenly, if we don't have as much photon overcharge, maybe that makes a problem. I'm not sure. It's a very interesting discussion that I do want to continue at a later time. But we're going to have to start wrapping up in a minute here. Well, I don't know. Finishing thoughts, guys, before we do our shout-outs?
Final thoughts about what? About the MothershipCore?
Yeah.
Just needs a little bit fixed. And that's the thing about Blizzard. Like, they should fix, like, little stuff. Even if it's little stuff. Like, try to patch more the game. Little stuff, not big stuff. So, to see where it goes. They take forever to patch stuff, I think. That's what I think. That's my final thought. Just play with the game a little bit.
Katz, your final thought on MothershipCore.
I'm almost okay with Blizzard just delaying the fixes at this point, because it doesn't really seem like the game is I think the balance of the game is better than pretty much every other game out there. So
what's his competition when it comes to RTSs? That's not saying too much.
I can't even name another RTS.
Yeah.
Well, just it's really hard to balance a game like that. And we've seen over time that sometimes you change something and it turns out there was another option. Like with the speed boost for medevacs, right? When it first came out, we were actually complaining on this same show about how Protoss couldn't do shit, and now we're complaining about the exact opposite thing. So I'm okay with them taking their time, because I think players can figure it out on their own sometimes. And in terms of PvT, I can't, I'm not a Terran or a Protoss player. But as far as PvC goes, I think that the MothershipCore is kind of needed for Protoss. And I also think that Recall might be a little bit too strong on that regard. But then, if you're fixing... I don't know if it needs fixing. That's the thing. I think CVP is really dynamic anyways. And both races have a lot of options. Whereas in TVP, it really sounds like the Terran doesn't. So... if there's a way to fix it without messing up the other matchup too much, then I'll sit out of this discussion.
Also, I just want to add something if I can, please.
Sure.
I know people think statistics means too much, but they actually don't. Like, I'm watching PvT 60%. I don't think overall it's 60%. I think it's probably like 55 in regards of actual gameplay.
Wait, what?
But people follow game statistics like
PvT win.
Or TBC win rate and stuff like that. Like, for example, TBC, it's 47 for Zerg, but I think it's a little bit imba for Terran. A little bit, just not too much, but only at the top level, for example.
Okay.
I'm just saying, people follow too much the win ratio statistics when they actually shouldn't.
Win ratios don't actually mean that much. You have to look at who's playing who and which level is
yes,
that, because
exactly.
every level of Starcraft 2 has a different balance to it.
Exactly.
Now, right now they made a lot because PvZ is at 60%. So this month we can pay attention to them.
This is what people do, man. They cherry pick everything for their race. The other two are always Imba.
No, I just say Terran is Imba against Zerg, but a little bit. Just a little bit.
Terran's so imbalanced, you can't even deny it.
I only did that with Hellbats.
No, it's a little bit. Right now it's a little bit. Little. Not much.
Okay. Idra, your closing thoughts on MothershipCore?
Mostly just the focus on recall and PvZ. I really think that doesn't get nearly enough use and abuse. I don't know. It would be really scary if Protoss will start doing that, but I think they should, just because I think it'll need to be addressed once they really, really get comfortable with how to use it.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole lot of potential there.
I think that you're right. That's where the most unseen potential in MothershipCore is right now, and I have to agree with Katz. I like the slow patch process because we figure out more and more and more, and the game actually changes so much without patches. as people have to, they're like, get really frustrated like this, and then figure out a new way to deal with things. So I like the way it's going. So guys, we're going to have to jump into shout-outs. I'm really sorry to everyone about how quick this show has to be today. I actually really screwed up scheduling once again. I mess up all the time with that type of thing. But yeah, we'll be back next week and stuff too. So we'll try to pick up the conversation more, and we'll definitely have Juan back in the future. Very fun discussion. So for shout-outs, why don't you start, Greg?
Just follow me on Twitter at Idra. Wait, no, it's at Idra now. I still haven't gotten used to that. And my stream is twitch.tv/Idra. Tomorrow's going to be subscriber day, so we play a bunch of arcade games. And if anyone hasn't played Ice Baneling Escape, it's actually the best thing in the entire world. It's also the most frustrating thing, but it's awesome. So we play a lot of that. And not too much else coming up. I'm back from ASUS. I don't have any events anytime soon, so I'll just be back to streaming a bunch regularly.
Cool. And Major, how about
your
shout-outs? You have any shout-outs?
Well, I can promote my Twitter, I guess. Just follow me on Major_SC2, and a shout-out to Nayoken. Because without Nayoken, I wouldn't be here.
What did Nayoken do to get you here? I'm confused.
He made me play mech against Sergen.
Nayoken is the brain, and Juan is the hands. That's exactly how it works.
That's
how it works.
Sick. Shout out to Nayoken for sure.
Shout out to Nayoken.
Anyone who knows who Nayoken is, he is one of the legendary Terrans from America from StarCraft 1. We all love him so dearly and wish he played more StarCraft 2, publicly.
Yes.
Cats, your shout outs.
Thank you very much to Das Keyboard and Twitch as well, and of course our new sponsor TT Esports. Thanks to them, I can stream now. No, yeah, I'll probably be streaming after this as well. So go on twitch.tv/ROOTCatz. I've had a couple rough days on the ladder, but I'm playing a lot better. I think I'm playing the best StarCraft of my life right now, and so I'm really happy with that. So go check that out. Follow me at ROOTCatz on Twitter, and yeah, I think that's about it.
Cool. And for me, big cheers to TT Esports and High by Power, amazing sponsors, and thank you to these three awesome guests for coming on. Sorry about no show last week. I really screwed that up. The week before, I was jet lagged. When I come back from an event like that, sometimes I'm just too tired to do one. And a big shout out to Simpatico, a great producer that always puts the show together. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. And yeah, I guess we'll see you next week.
Adios.
Pros always want to have gear that's exactly fitted to their needs.
Something I've always dreamed about doing is using my experience as a gamer to make gear for people like me.
We're working with TT Esports to make the exact mouse, keyboard, and headset that we've always wanted to use.
When you're doing anything that you love to do, the tools that you're using matter the most.
We're designing these products from scratch to make sure that your gaming experience is completely seamless. The gear I use to play the game
are the tools I use to win.
Welcome to Esports U, the site where you can learn StarCraft 2 intelligently. We'll have updates about all three races regularly. We'll also from time to time be inviting new guest coaches in to show you their strengths and how to fill in your own weaknesses. We have a huge beginner's course for each race, which will give new players the tools they need to understand the game and improve quickly. We also focus on high-level analysis as well as breakdowns that benefit players of all skill levels. In the community section, you can talk on the forums and make groups with players of all skill levels. We'll also be having a members-only exclusive podcast.